There's something I want to say to the parent who keeps leaving conversations with their adult child feeling disappointed in themselves. You told yourself you were going to stay calm this time. You told yourself you weren't going to over explain. You said you were going to stop reacting emotionally every time your adult child called or ignored you or disrespected you or made another painful decision. And then that moment came and you reacted again. Now you're sitting there thinking, maybe I'm not growing, or I'm failing, or I'll never get it right. But I need you to hear me. You did not fail because you're still learning. There's a difference between failure and practice. And many prodigal parents are in the practice phase, but they keep judging themselves like they're supposed to already be experts. And honestly, that mindset alone can discourage people enough to quit growing altogether because this journey is not about learning information only. It's about unlearning emotional patterns that may be operating in you for years, and that takes time. Sometimes you're not just breaking a communication habit, you're breaking fear, panic, control. You're breaking the belief that if you don't step in immediately, everything will fall apart. Now, that is deeper work than people realize. I think sometimes parents watch coaching videos and read books or hear teachings and subconsciously think, okay, I got it, I learned it. So now I should automatically do it perfect. But learning something intellectually and living it emotionally are two different things, especially when emotions are involved, your child's involved, and pain is involved. Your nervous system and emotions and fears and all reactions don't instantly disappear because you gain new understanding. No, this is why some parents feel discouraged when they mess up again. But let me show you something important. There was a time when maybe you reacted and never reflected on it afterward, but now you're becoming aware of it, and that matters. There was also a time when maybe you stayed emotionally spiraled for days, and now maybe it lasts a shorter amount of time. That matters too. There was a time when you couldn't recognize your triggers at all. Now you're beginning to notice, okay, I reacted because I felt rejected, or I reacted because I was scared, or I reacted because I felt out of control. And parents, that awareness is growth, not perfection, but growth. I think many parents are measuring themselves incorrectly. You're measuring yourself by did I do everything right or perfect? Instead of asking, am I becoming more aware, more intentional, and more emotionally healthy over time? That is a very different measurement. I also want to say something spiritual here. Conviction and condemnation are not the same thing. Conviction says this area needs healing and growth, but condemnation says you'll never change. Conviction leads you forward, but condemnation crushes you in the process. And many parents are condemning themselves every time they have a hard moment. But growth with God has always involved process. Think about it. Throughout scripture, God continually worked with people in process. People learning, struggling, people growing, people misunderstanding things and needing correction again and again. So, why do we expect ourselves to transform overnight in one of the most emotionally painful journeys a parent can walk through? You are learning new ways to communicate, new ways to respond, better ways to regulate emotionally, new ways to trust God, new ways to release control, better ways to love without fear leading everything. That is not shallow work. Sometimes progress looks like less dramatic than people expect. Sometimes progress looks like pausing before you react, apologizing quicker, recognizing your triggers sooner, calming down faster, choosing silence instead of escalating, or stepping away to pray instead of panic. And all of that is still growth. I really want parents to understand that you are not starting over every time you struggle. You are practicing, and practice includes repetition. Nobody learns emotional health overnight. Nobody breaks years of patterns in 1 week. Nobody completely masters their emotions in one difficult season. You're learning. Now, that doesn't mean we become passive and say, well, this is just how I am. No, we still take responsibility. We still grow intentionally. We still allow God to deal with us honestly. But we stop speaking to ourselves like failure every time we have a hard moment. Because some of you are actually making progress, but your self condemnation is preventing you from seeing it. So let me give you a simple reset for those moments when you feel like I messed up again. First, you want to pause. Do not spiral emotionally for the rest of the day. And second, acknowledge what happened honestly, not harshly, honestly. Third, ask yourself, what was I feeling underneath that reaction? Was it fear, rejection, anger, disappointment? Okay. And then fourth, you have to re anchor yourself in truth, not panic, not assumptions, not catastrophic thinking, but truth. And then finally, practice again next time, not perfectly, but intentionally, because healing often looks repetitive before it looks natural. And I think some of you need to hear this today. You are not behind. You are not hopeless. You are not failing simply because you're still learning how to do this different. You are in process. And process does not mean God is absent. Sometimes process is exactly where He does His deepest work. So if this encouraged you, let me know down in the comments what part resonated with you most. And if you're in that place where you feel emotionally exhausted from trying to grow while loving your adult child through this season, I want you to know you are not alone in it. We're going to keep learning, keep growing, keep healing, and keep walking this journey one step at a time.